So Sue, you're a social media consultant. What does digital journalism mean to you?
Digital journalism to me is just an extension of what journalism was before, I think. You use the same skills that you had before, but in a much more kind of social and technological way. I think the opportunities now, I joined the BBC in '93 and there wasn't even Google. So it's absolutely brilliant now that there's so many tools available to you. But fundamentally, I'm banging on about this all the time, it's about the psychology of online communication. If you know your audience and know what they need from you, then you're going to make the tools work for you. It's not just about the technology.
Yeah, exactly. And what are your thoughts on live streaming? Do you think it's something that's here to stay?
Live streaming has its advantages, but there's an awful lot of rubbish out there. I mean, absolute crap. And I think if you know what you're doing and know what the audience need from you, and you don't do it just because you can, you do it because you're adding value of some sort. The opportunities are endless, but as I mentioned in the conference, there are lots of things you need to watch out for before you go live. You know, the safety, privacy, ethics, copyright, all sorts of different things.
And what do you think would be the main challenges in this next year or so for media?
I think the main challenges for media this year, certainly if you're on Facebook, is getting your stuff seen. Frankly, I think most people are wasting their time unless they have a budget. The changes in newsfeed mean that your stuff is just not going to get the organic reach at all. So unless you have a budget, don't bother. And rethink what you're doing. So they are trying to encourage meaningful interactions, which basically is just being social and human, instead of just pushing. I think the problem that people have had is regarding social media as a broadcast tool, and it's not. It's a conversational tool. So I think if you do it that way around, and that's the way that you think about it, it'll be okay.
And where do you think news is developing in the next 5 years?
I think a lot of us are going to get a bit bored with so much news, and what we'll find is that we cut down a lot of the things that we're following. We're just overloaded with content at the moment. So what people will end up doing is going back to the trusted news sources, and they'll be bored of all the clickbait rubbish and all of that kind of stuff. So I think people will be looking more to trusted news sources and also niche stuff. So you'll follow your interests a bit more rather than just generic news. And I think also the news tends to be bad. So we're going to look for much more solutions journalism and more positive focused news, because we can't cope with so much bad news.
Yeah, of course. And you were speaking about your top tips for engagement is really like creating a community where you can engage with the people. What would you say is the main way to do that? How you can go around approaching that?
Rule number one with everything is know your audience, know who you're talking to, and not just the demographics of how old they are, where they are, all of that sort of stuff, but the psychographics. What kind of people are they? What are their hopes, aspirations, attitudes, opinions, all of that sort of stuff. And if you can tap into that and add value and be interesting, I've always said, is what you're doing right, R-I-T-E? Is it relevant? Is it interesting or informative? Is it timely or topical? And is it either educational, entertaining, or most of all, I think, emotionally engaging? If you've got those things, you will continue to have an audience. If you haven't, and you're just spewing content out, bye-bye, you're wasting your time.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sue, for talking to us.